Hi, welcome to Father of Games. Today I'm going to do a quick review of Wingspan. If you need to learn the rules for the game, I've linked that in the description below. It's just going to be a quick review, 3 positives, 3 negatives, and my final score to 10 at the end. So to jump right in with positives, there's no denying this game is super popular. It's number 23 on Board Game Geek currently, and number 1 family game rated right now. And people are playing this game. People really like this game. If I had to sum up in one word why I think it's so popular, it would be accessibility. This game is easy to find a copy of. It's easy to play. It's easy to teach. It's a very good entry game for people who don't play a lot of games. And it's the full game. There's no Kickstarter edition. So if you bought this 2 years ago, you buy this 2 years from now, or you buy it now, you're getting the same game, which I really like. So many games go to Kickstarter, and if you wait till retail to buy it, you're only getting half the game. So it was really nice that they didn't do that with Wingspan. So that is positive number 1, accessibility. Positive number 2 is the components. People always joke about these eggs here, how they look like chocolate eggs, and it's no joke. They really do. When I was setting up the game one time, my 2-year-old daughter came over, grabbed one off the table, put it in her mouth, and ran away. And I had to jump up, tackle her to the ground, and pry it out of her mouth before she swallowed it. To be fair, she shouldn't have done that even if it was a chocolate egg, but it's beside the point. They really do look like real eggs, and they're really good quality, but not just the eggs, like everything in it. Every player has a colorful board that looks really nice. The cards have a really nice finish on them. I never felt the need to sleeve the cards, which I sleeve almost every game, so they're really good finish on those. And even the rule book, as far as just that, the paper that they use is like this semi-waterproof material. It's not actually waterproof. I did test that out, but it feels like it is, and it's just like a good quality even on the rule book. So it just shows the attention they went into the components, with the exception of the bird feeder, which wasn't the greatest, but you can buy a wooden one if you so choose. And finally, positive number 3 is that each bird has a little fact about them on the card. I thought that was a really nice touch. Like, for instance, I learned the green heron drops insects in the water, so fish come up, and then it eats the fish. I learned that the tree swallow here forms flocks numbering in the hundreds of thousands. That's kind of neat. You could learn, when players are taking their turns, you can be looking through the birds that you have and kind of learn about them before your turn comes around again. So it's just a nice touch that they did that on every one of the cards. And there's 170 cards in the game, so it probably did take some time. It was a nice touch that they added that in. Now for negatives. My first negative is that there's very little player interaction. So each player is building their own board in front of them, their own aviary, and you're not really interacting with each other. Like, you're building yours, the player over there is building theirs, the other player's and you can't really do anything to stop what they're doing. You kind of just focus on your own board. In between turns, you're either looking at the bird facts or you're figuring out what card to play next on your turn. There's very little player interaction there, and it brings kind of into the second negative, kind of join in with that, is that some cards are very unbalanced, and some are just way better than others, and they're unmemorable. So because there's no player interaction there, certain players can just get a good card right off the start, and you can't really do anything to stop them. They just drew a better card. You can play to the best ability that you have and optimize the most that you can, but ultimately if a player gets a better card, there's no way to stop them, with the exception of you can take a bird card that you think they want, but there's 169 other cards in the deck, so it's really not that big a deal if you take a card that someone wants. So and they are unmemorable. There's 170 cards in the game, but I've never once been like, okay, I need the green heron right now. That would finish my strategy. That would really help me out. It's just like, no, I need a bird that can do this, or that can do this, or whatever the case. Near the end, you need a bird that scores you high points, that isn't necessarily a brown powered bird, or whatever the case. It's not the card itself. For an example, like an Everdell, you say, or what cards you need to kind of optimize your strategy, and this is just, you need a card that does something, and there's maybe 30 of each type of card that does that variation of what you need for them. So there's no real risk there, because there's so many cards that do relatively the same thing. And my final negative is the replayability, which is kind of crazy to think with 170 cards in the game that the replayability I find is low. I played this with 2 players, 3 players, and 4 players. Every game I felt like I've just been playing against myself. Because everyone's just doing their own thing, and I play this with 3 different groups of people. It's never once been recommended to be played again. Everyone's response that I played, with the exception of my wife, who really does enjoy the game, everyone's response was, it was okay. And that's kind of how I feel about it. It's Wingspan, an okay game. It's there's nothing nothing drawing me personally into playing it over and over. It's, you've seen the cards are kind of cool. There's a bunch of different birds, but as I mentioned, the abilities are very similar on so many of them that you don't really see anything new except for the artwork on the cards, which for me could have been better as well. So yeah, the replayability wasn't super high in my opinion. But, this is a super popular game. Like, people do really enjoy it. If it seems like a game, like, if you don't mind having no player interaction, if you don't mind, being a little unbalanced, like the strategy you make throughout the game might not be enough, and that's kind of not your fault. If you don't mind those kinds of things, this might be a game for you. If that sounds like something you wouldn't like, then you're probably like me, and it's, I don't recommend it.
Father of Games rating 6.5.
And that's my thoughts on Wingspan. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more videos.